If you think about the amount of progress that we've achieved as modern humans just in the last few hundred years, if you go back 400 years to now, it's a stunning amount of achievement.
Absolutely stunning.
And if you have a completely different path of technology, one that's not utilizing internal combustion engines and cranes and the like that we experience
leverage,
today.
Mechanical advantage, everything that our tech is based around.
Something that's insanely advanced, tens of thousands of years of a different path.
Yeah.
And that may be what we're looking at.
7 million square kilometers of the Earth's surface was above water during the Ice Age, and it's underwater today. So yes, there has been quite a bit of marine archaeology. I think Nick Fleming says there's about 3,000 sites have been investigated underwater over the years. But it's, again, you're looking at a tiny fraction of 1% of the submerged areas that have been investigated. I was very excited when I saw this, but it turned out that it was just another search for shipwrecks. And fortunately, some new work is now being done. Archaeologists are beginning to look at the submerged area, Doggerland, for example, between what is now Britain and continental Europe, a submerged landmass. They're beginning to investigate this. It wouldn't surprise me at all if lots of evidence of hunter-gatherers is found in these submerged areas. I would expect that to be the case. But to say that enough work has been done to rule out the possibility of a lost civilization seems to me absurd when we're dealing with 27 million square kilometers. And I just want to say that I and my wife Santha have done a great deal of diving. We did 7 years of scuba diving all over the world. And what we did was we followed up local accounts of underwater structures, fishermen, local divers, and we went where they took us. This is Nan Madol, Ponape, on the island of Ponape. You go a bit further underwater and you start finding structures underwater. Go a bit further still and you find this huge column underwater. This is at a depth of 27 meters. That column has been submerged for more than 13,000 years. And it compares very interestingly with this column. If you see on the left, the submerged column at Nan Madol, on the right, this column from Tinian, the island of Tinian, also in that region of the Pacific. I wonder if the megaliths of Tinian have been misdated. What we're looking at here, and I apologize to listeners who are listening and not watching, but what we're looking at here are my fins disappearing into a tunnel. And that tunnel looks to me, this is in Japan, by the way, off the island of Yonaguni. That tunnel looks to me very man-made, particularly when I get inside it and find on each side, two big megaliths piled one on top of the other. And then when you come to the end of the tunnel, you see ahead of you these two massive megalithic blocks directly in view from the tunnel. That's a shot that Santha took of me diving beside those megalithic blocks, just to give you a sense of the scale of them. They're enormous. No, they did not fall from a cliff above. There is no cliff above. And they're in context. We're looking at a huge rocky outcrop with these two megalithic blocks on the side. But let's go round to the right of that rocky outcrop, and we find a rock-hewn area with steps. And those steps, archaeologists tend to argue this is all completely natural. I have done more than 200 dives at Yonaguni. Santha and I risked our lives. We are not dilettantes. We are in this out of conviction. We're in this out of passion for our subject. We've done more than 200 dives at Yonaguni. I've been hands-on with this structure and all the other structures around it, and I am absolutely confident that we're looking at a rock-hewn structure, a natural rock face that was cut and shaped by human beings. Here at Kerema, we're looking at a stone circle underwater, depth 30 plus meters, 32 meters, I think, been submerged again for more than 13,000 years. There I'm videoing for scale. You can see somebody down beside that central megalith. Flynn, do you think nature made that?
I see no evidence of it being man-made, if that's what you're saying.
You see no evidence of that being man-made. You see a central upright, you see uprights surrounding it, you see the outer curve, the inner curve of the outer megalith matching the outer curve of the central megalith, and to you, that's not even interesting?
I mean, even the photos you were showing the Yonaguni showed a lot of natural fractures along straight lines, and so I think that it's really easy to confuse what can happen naturally and geologically with something that looks kind of anthropogenic, but this does not look man-made to me. It does not look like anything I've ever seen.
Well, that's interesting, because I took a geologist diving there, Wolf Wichman. He's very skeptical. He was skeptical about Yonaguni, but he did confess after we came up from the dive at Kerama that there's no way, in his opinion, that this could have been made by nature. This is a rock wall off Taiwan. Again, Santha and I went diving there. That's a local diver called Steve Shea. He's showing us this rock wall. We can get in close to it. We can see a sort of pediment in front of it. And if you get up close, you can see that it is actually made of individual blocks put together. Let's go to India, southeast coast of India. My wife Santha was born in Malaysia, but she's of Tamil South Indian origin. So we had a great advantage in South India in talking to local fishermen and divers, because Santha speaks the Tamil language fluently. And we had asked them, are there any structures underwater off here? And they said, you bet there are. There's a whole city underwater off here. And we've complained to the government about it, because we keep catching our nets on it, and fishermen have to go down, and sometimes they die trying to free the nets. We'd like the whole thing cleared away. So we said, would you take us out there and show us? And it took some time to put it together. This was an expedition with the Scientific Exploration Society in Britain that I put together. As you can see, it's a very low-tech expedition. But when we got out there, come on, Flint, tell me these are man-made. Tell me these are natural blocks.
It's a very blurry picture, Graham.
Well, tell me that they're natural blocks. Tell me.
I cannot tell for sure with these photos.
Okay, there I'm putting my diving knife between two blocks. And there, and then a curved wall. Actually, the team from the National Institute of Oceanography in India, who were with us, were intrigued by this.
Do you have any more photos of that are maybe more convincing?
No, that's what I've got. But I'm trying to keep it short.
Right, some of them do have characteristics of stone walls for sure, but it's hard to tell.
That's the top of a stone wall. The rest of it's buried in sand on the left there. On the right, a stone wall with a standout feature above it. To suggest that these things are natural seems to me completely absurd. And my point is that if Santha and I, with no external funding, the only funding we have, I've never had financial sponsorship from anybody. The only funding that we have is the kind readers who buy my books and allow us to undertake this research. And we've risked our lives for 30 years investigating this research. And if we can find structures of this nature underwater on our very limited basis, then I would imagine that a detailed archaeological survey would find much more.
But we got to talk about it a little bit now.
Okay. Well, there's a laboratory right now in the Maldives that's been building prototypes using these technological principles, which are based on implosion rather than explosion. And the inspiration for this...
Tesla's ideas are part of it, I think you mentioned.
Tesla's ideas are very much a part of it. Yes, Tesla's ideas are very much a part of it. So is, I don't know if you ever, Victor Schauberger, who did the work with water and discovered, look at, Jamie, could you look up Victor? Oh, I have the cable now, don't I?
Take it back. Let me find it.
Well, no. Let me pull something up here, and
if you think about the amount of progress that we've achieved as modern humans just in the last few hundred years, if you go back 400 years to now, it's a stunning amount of achievement.
Absolutely stunning.
And if you have a completely different path of technology, one that's not utilizing internal combustion engines and cranes and the like that we experience
leverage,
today.
Mechanical advantage, everything that our tech is based around.
Something that's insanely advanced, tens of thousands of years of a different path.
Yeah.
And that may be what we're looking at.
And that may begin to explain these otherwise inexplicable monuments that have survived.
Jamie, do I need... There we go. This is the work of Nikola Tesla. And he was... Again, this is way too much for us to get in today. That's why we need to devote a whole session to talking about this.
Okay.
But this is this was the inspiration. You know, his work was suppressed. A lot of his patents were taken, sealed up by the U.S. government for whatever reason. I don't know. But this is some of the stuff that's now being developed using his ideas, plus some of the others. This is the man I've been talking to for the last 7 years.
Malcolm Bendall?
Yes. And again, I don't want to get into it today, but like, here's an example of what they're doing. This is a generator that has no moving parts. It's all based on geometry, pure geometry. And here's the basic idea, as I think I understand it at this point. Resonance frequencies. Everything vibrates. Have you ever, like if we had an electric razor, we plugged it in, turned it on, set it on this table, it's going to move around, isn't it? You ever seen that?
Yeah.
That's the beginning of the concept, because it's vibrating. Everything vibrates at a frequency, and if you know that frequency, you can control things. And I think that's the basic idea of what we're looking at here. And it's all based upon the ancient numbers. And they're developing technologies right now, and they have been. I was recently contacted and given the go-ahead that I could talk. I've been sitting on this for 7 years without talking about it, because they asked me not to talk about it until they had their patents in place and their licensing. That's all happened since last summer. So we're now free to talk about it. So that's what I'm saying. I think it would be a good idea to get me back on here. We can look at it. I'm going to lay this on Graham so he can look at it too, because I really want to get Graham's feedback on this.
I mean, would it be fair to say that there's an element of a rediscovery of a lost technology from the past?
I think it would be fair to say that, yes.
And so through this technology, they're able to move stones or cut stones or all the above?
All the above.
And even transport them? Whoa,
Yes.
what is all this?
Well, this is the model, and this is diagramming all the frequencies of the elements and what their vibrational frequencies are and the numbers that measure those frequencies. And they're all the numbers we get from looking at these ancient traditions that recur over and over and over again, that I've been talking about in my sacred geometry classes for decades without knowing what the final result was going to be. So this inventor who's working with this small group contacted me, and this is what he told me. He said, you built the foundation. He said, you laid the foundation with your work on ancient geometry, and I built a house on top of it. That's what he said. Nice. So for 7 years, he's been supplying me with all the information. I have copies of all the patents. I have videos of the testing of the prototypes. And Mazda, the car manufacturer in Japan, is getting ready to do a $25 million testing of some of these prototypes that they believe they can retrofit internal combustion engines with. And there's over 100, they've developed over 100 patents on some of this stuff. And it's amazing.
And what would be the fuel?
Well, plasmoids. Plasmoids, as it says here, are donut or toroidal-shaped clusters of net protons or net electrons that once captured and placed into a toroidal orbit are capable of absorbing, storing, and releasing enormous amounts of energy within their self-generated and structured electromagnetic containment field. Plasmoids, in effect, function as an atomic battery that can be self-charging due to its ability to convert matter to available clean energy. So it's a lot to get into, and I think it would take us kind of off what we're here to talk about today.
At least what's promising is that there is some, at least, research or understanding.
And it's actually quite mature at this point. And in order to avoid the kinds of fate that befell Tesla and Reich, Robert Oppenheimer, Victor Schauberger, and so many others that were working in these fields, all kind of converging on this same insight. It's been conducted in secret. The laboratory that they've been developing this is in the Maldives, so that it's been immune from government interference. And now I think it's about ready to go to the next.
Now, what is the motivation of the suppressing of this information?
I think in case of Tesla, wasn't it military, the fear of military applications?
I also think that, there are huge corporations that have very large investments in a particular path of technology, which is ours.
Right.
And for somebody to come up with a whole new path of technology, it's very threatening to them. And much better from their point of view to suppress it, or if they can't suppress it, to kind of buy it and hide it, and keep things on the track that they're on now. I would say that's the motive.
And maybe for people that are curious about this and maybe even skeptical, consider the massive change that nuclear power provided us. Whereas before the 1940s, this was unheard of.
Yeah.
This even the concept of it. And all of a sudden now we have nuclear power, nuclear weapons, the most profound power known to man currently.